One of the most difficult struggles you want to fix as a YouTuber is to try to get a selfie video of yourself, but you don't have anything to balance yourself on, so you have to balance your phone on something strange. Maybe here will do. Right. So yes, finally, welcome. So that's why we're doing a review of something this small, but which is kind of necessary when you're starting, because you don't want to start and be frustrated at the time. I mean, I spent so much hours trying to balance my phone on either books or some pile of clothes or some pile of pillows, and it just didn't work. Worse when you try to live stream. So that's why this thing comes in handy today. This is what we're talking about. This thing is important, I'm telling you guys, especially for most YouTubers who don't do videos well as they're outside there. If you're doing desk videos, you suddenly need this thing, and it really doesn't cost a lot of bucks. I'm telling you guys, this thing is worth it. So as you guys can hear, it's very simple. It's one little product that's in here, but I'm going to give you the pros and cons of buying this thing, because the one that we are reviewing today, this one, and the one that I'm using, they are quite different, and there is a reason why I kind of like got both of them. So now let's take a look at this. The box is quite small, as you guys can see. It's almost like the size of my hand, my palm. So yeah, it's relatively slow. If you do this, that's how big it is. So yeah, it comes in a very nice page box. As you can see, even though they put a cameraman was literally going to put a camera on this thing, I don't think this thing would actually even hold the weight of a camera, because it's too small and it looks a bit too fragile for me to actually do that. And one other thing is, don't be fooled with those kind of drawings. They are not always as accurate as you think. Anyway, let's go ahead and open this thing up. So I bought this in an Afghanistan store. And yeah, so this guy made a deal with me, and I eventually ended up getting two. So, ta-da! That's all that's in it. That's all. Yep. This is all we are looking for. Now, it's very interesting. You see, it's very interesting that it looks like, what do you guys call that animal? Yeah, that animal that has got 8 legs, an octopus, but it doesn't have 8 legs. And the first thing that I noticed is that I thought these were going to be very flexible, you know, like, but I guess I suppose it's Chinese. Well, yes, this is made in China. Made in China. It's so rare. Maybe that's why. I thought these were going to be, you know, flexible, but at the same time be, but as you guys can see, it's quite a struggle to get these things aligned. And if you know, let's just try. And so it's one of those, the reason why I'm testing this is it's one of those things that you'd want to do with this tripod, especially the flexible tripod. You want it to hold like this, but I'm not sure if it's gonna hold weight so much here, but otherwise, and so I'm just gonna try to screw it over my bed head and see if we can actually hold something. Right, so cool. Let me get it through the taste. So yep, we have got it all together now, and let's try and fix it to a wall or something and see if it can actually lift up a phone. This. So I'm trying to fix it on this thing, and I'm having a little bit of difficulties. So yep, I will try and right. Yeah. You see what I meant now when I said this thing doesn't have as much grip as you guys would think it has, especially when you bang it from the pictures and all. Right, let me try and fix this with 2 hands and maybe it would stick. Right, so eventually I got it to stick, as you guys can see. I got it to kind of like stick, and yeah, we're gonna try and put our phone right there and see if it will hold it. So I did put my phone, but clearly it won't hold because it doesn't have enough grip there. And even if it does, you see that people there, that thing keeps moving. So see now it's kind of like it keeps going down and down and down and down, and like, so that pivot joint there is not really as strong as you think it is. And so let's try again, and let's try to screw it and fix it one more time. Oh, this is dangerous. This is dangerous. Right. So that's the problem, guys. You guys can clearly tell this thing is having difficulties holding on to this thing. As you can see, it's not as strong as we think it is, but yeah, it works when you just want to put it like this. So now maybe yes, it works. Oh, excuse my boots. And so yeah, maybe now it works. This thing is for the disc. To be honest, I don't think it would work well even in the jungle where it's supposed to, but see, it works well when it's placed like that, and I really have no issues with it when it's standing like this, because then it can do that. But the moment you try to squeeze over, and do all kinds of shenanigans with it, you have to be quite creative with the legs. The more creative you are with the legs, see, the better it gets to balancing, and I'm sure you can tend to twist it. You can even shoot your video upside down like that. See, it's not yet done completely. And let me try and switch on the camera thing. See, you can now literally flip your phone like that, and it would still hold quite well. So one thing that I have to indicate and give credit to is that this thing depends on your creativity with the legs. So the more creative you are with the legs, the better it is going to be for you to actually be using this thing. So yeah, otherwise it's a really nice tripod, and the flexibility is cool, but it can be improved, and we don't want to remove all credit from it. But yeah, it's a cool item, and that's it. It's some kind of rubber, and this part here is also rubber-ish. It's not very rubbery, but I hope you guys are getting this English. But I would have given it a much better rating if it had better grip on this white stuff, because you'd expect this thing to grip so hard, but it's not the way it is. And so yeah, it has how many? This is like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 balls. That is about 30 balls plus those two, that is 32 balls of that stuff. And it has got about how many pivots? It has got, so the main pivots are these ones, obviously the 3 ones here that attach to this one. So there's this one that attaches to this leg, and the one that attaches to this leg, and the one that attaches to this leg. And it also have this other pivot, and I just want to tell you guys, it's one of those things I like, because then it gives the whole thing a flexibility for it to actually twist and turn in all angles, which is different from the one that I'm using there, because the one that I'm using there, it just goes sideways and maybe back and forth, so it's vertical and lateral movement. But this one is literally flexible. It can go literally almost 180 degrees like that, and you don't have to move and squeak your thing like the one that I'm using there. And so yeah, this one is quite cool in that sense. And the other cool thing is that, so as we know, this thing already, this bolt here, that's kind of like an universal thing on almost every tripod, because you find this size bolt on almost every camera. And so one of the things that I like about this thing is that you can actually remove this, and I assume you can place your camera. So I haven't owned a camera yet, so I wouldn't know if a camera would fit in there, but I assume that it might fit. So if you press here, you guys can see there are like 2 buttons there, like this thing. You can press it inside, right? And when you press it inside, you can literally remove this piece here. So yep, you have now 2 pieces, and now I think you can shove your camera in there or something like that in there, and you can screw this separately or keep it separately. But however, because I'm probably going to be using this as a selfie stick, I'll probably put it back and make sure that it's clipped back and it doesn't fall back. So let's try to straighten the legs of this thing out first. Now the next thing that what we're going to talk about is unfortunately broken. So we're going to place this thing here, right here, right. Now the next thing that we're going to be talking about is this thing. So this thing comes on top of this, so it's supposed to be like this. Oh god, what is this? It's supposed to be like this, right? So you see, this is how this thing is supposed to look. It's supposed to look like this. So what this happens is that you screw it on top here, right? So assuming this is up, there's a reason why this broke, and that is what prompted me to actually doing this video, because I don't do these videos necessarily. So this thing, as you guys can see, it goes and it fits right on top of that bolt that I told you it fits there, and then you've got this thing that holds this thing down. But there are some things that I would like to mention about this thing. Yeah, this thing is ultimate rubbish, and it is ultimate rubbish. It is convenient, but it is ultimate rubbish. The first thing is that if you are using a 7-inch Android phone or whatever Apple phone, you don't want to get this thing to clip your phone, because it's gonna fall off, or your phone is gonna fall off somehow, I'm telling you. And the other thing is, it is too tight. It is too tight. So at the end of the day, I had to actually unscrew it. As you guys can see there are screws there. So those screws, they mount springs that are inside. However, this, even though I unscrewed them and made them a little bit more loose, it was still too tight. So it means every time I was putting my phone there, so I use my, okay, let me get my other phone, right? Just hold on. So I use a Note 5, this phone. This is what I'm using to film even through that one. So as you guys can see, it's relatively too big for this thing. As you guys can see, it's too big. However, this thing is supposed to come accommodated because it stretches that way. But the problem with this thing now is that when you're stretching it, it's like this. You see? This thing. It's like this. When you're stretching it, you are stretching it against plastic. So what is actually happening is that when you pull this thing, you're pulling plastic against steel, and we all know how that's going to end. This thing is going to break. That is exactly what happened to my tripod, this selfie clipper. That's what happened to it. So it's a bad idea to get this. Worst of all, one other thing that I want to mention to you before you get this thing, yeah, it's convenient if you don't have any other selfie thing, but if you've got another option, don't buy this. So I'm going to show you an alternative of a selfie clipper that you'd rather use. That's the one that I'm using today instead of this one. So one other thing is that, you see, this thing is metal, and my phone, that looks like metal. It's almost like chrome, whatever that material is. You don't want it to be scratching on this thing, because your phone is going to scratch and it's going to hurt you big time, man, when you look at your phone and you figure out it's squished because of this thing. The second thing is that now, because it is steel against steel or chrome against steel, whatever that material is, it easily slips, this thing. It doesn't clip. It doesn't have rubber on this side. So if it had this kind of rubber on top here, like that, and then you've got rubber as well here, it would make more sense, because then you know that your phone is actually fixed to the clapper. But now, because it has got steel, it means it's solely relying on the amount of pressure that this spring is exerting, and that's bad for you. I am telling you, your phone one day is gonna come loose and you're gonna cry over your phone with a broken screen. Yeah, so that's one of the major letdowns of this thing, is this steel part doesn't have rubber. The other thing is that this steel here is not reinforced all the way through to that part that sits at the bottom here. So it would have made more sense if this thing was also coming and projecting into this thing. So it would come, it would have made more sense. But now it doesn't make sense, because this thing, guys, is trouble. So I wouldn't advise anyone to use this thing or to get this thing, even though I'm still gonna get one of these like this and replace this one that is broken, because at some point in time you might need it, because it's very cheap. Probably get it around $2 or $3, somewhere there, I'm sure, even $1.50, something like that. You can get this clipper for that. It's cheap, but it puts you at so much risk. And so still working. Good.